Please put your hands together for Ugo Monye.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you've been enjoying some of the conversations that you've had, as well as what we're about to get into now. This is me, a little bit heavier and a little bit younger. And this is what I used to do. So I used to be a professional rugby player, really fortunate just to play for the one club. Played for Harlequins, played for England, and was fortunate enough to play for the British and Irish Lions. This is a little bit of what I do now. Spend a lot of my time presenting, mainly in rugby, getting involved in conversations, chairing certain diversity inclusion groups. But the job which probably gives me the most amount of joy is this one that I do here. As a dad to two girls, this is Phoenix here, she's 7, and that's Ruby, who is 4. I showed you a couple of slides about the jobs that I used to do. And for me, it's a really interesting story about how it all started. I've got 2 brothers, 2 sisters, single parent households, and it was an opportunity. I've tried to frame this chat around everything starting with an opportunity and the recognition of that. So I got an opportunity to go to private school that was partially funded by them. We didn't have the money to be able to do it. And that opportunity was something that really scared me. I'm a city boy, had to end up moving out to Hampshire, into the country, and they didn't play the sport which I loved. I love football, so it's amazing being here at Wembley today. They played a sport called rugby. And that opportunity was something that eventually changed my life, but I'm glad that I recognised the opportunity rather than being overwhelmed with how scary it all was. And my informative years, my early years at private school was something that really challenged me and probably quite curious. Private school was the first place where I met my best friend and the first time I met someone with a double-barrelled name. That was interesting for me. His name was Stan Ennell-Glynn, cracking bloke, played rugby, tried to teach me all about rugby. He asked where I lived. I said I lived in Sippenham on an estate, and he was like, fantastic, I also live on an estate. And so at the weekend, he invited me to his estate, and so I turned up and I was like, this is not an estate. His estate had horses. His pool house is bigger than my house. It was slightly confusing, but we got along famously. I went from school to end up playing for Harlequins, as I showed. And my USP as a rugby player was being really fast. And I played on the 7 circuit, and I played international rugby, and I'd be considered maybe one of the fastest players on the international circuit. And the thing that really challenged me was that whilst I was recognised as being one of the fastest players out there, at my state school, age 12, I wasn't the quickest in my year or even in my class. And so I've just really wrestled and struggled with this notion that I was the lad that got to play for Harlequins, that got to fulfil and live a dream that was never a dream, then became the thing that changed my life. How come I was the one? And it all came down to me getting the opportunity. So Steve Borthwick, the England head coach, when he announces his Six Nations squad, and he said, this is the best 32 players that we have in this country representing this country, circa 65 million people, I kind of find it hard to agree with that as well, because our pathway in rugby is through a private school system. And so these 32 actually only represent the 7% of people that actually goes to private school. Do they represent the country? And the one thing that's denying the other 93% is just an opportunity to be able to maybe change your life. So how can we as people be better in recognising what an opportunity is, and how can we spread the wealth in opportunity? So I played rugby and I absolutely loved it. I think I played an incredible sport that brings out the very best in everyone. And we had a clear thing, it was called SSM, Single Shared Mindset. So 15 individuals on the pitch, but we all want to achieve the same thing. And we all understand in order to be able to achieve the same thing, we all need to do our job and be connected by thought and by the physics that we produce on the pitch. It was so important that we really understood what that was. Loads of us wanted to play international rugby. That was our individual goal. But the way in which we had to do it was by being part of a team. So we really, really focused on that. But I think one of the greatest team sports out there is cycling. I don't love cycling. I'm actually no good at it. But I really appreciate the values of cycling. So I'm going to ask you, who is this? Does anyone know who this is? That's Geraint Thomas. He's brilliant. He won the Tour de France in 2018. We've had other Brits win the Tour de France. Chris Froome has won the Tour de France so many times. But when we talk about teamwork, the two components that I think we essentially really need are great leaders and great followers. In 2018 in the Tour de France, he was the leader of his pack. He was an absolute sensation. The Tour de France is built up of 21 stages. They travel over 3,000 kilometres over 23 days. And they have to do it as a team. But every team needs a leader. The number one thing you need to do, I think, in any team, and when I talk about teams, I'm talking about relationships, two people coming together. That's a high-performing team in your different institutions, not just in sport. It can be in the office place, could be wherever. And I think the two things you need to understand is, are you a leader or are you a follower? And I'll get into that a little bit more. I never captained a team, but I was a bloody good follower. And I think there's this massive myth around what it is to be a follower. It's you're subservient, you just go with the flow, no. You need a leader to set an agenda, to set a culture, to set a real purpose, to set a why, and you need everyone to follow. One of the other brilliant things about the Tour de France and cycling is this. You'll see this picture so many times. This is a peloton. Within a peloton, especially if you're going uphill into the rain, you'll never see the leader at the front of the pack. Why? Because the leader should be the best. They should be at the front. But these people here at the front, what they do is they become the best teammates you'd ever have. They're called domestiques. And it's the domestiques' jobs to be able to cycle into the wind, up a massive gradient, and for the leader to sit at the back and for them to protect their leader so that he can preserve his energy and get himself down the Champs-Élysées and onto the podium. So with that in mind, everyone recognised Geraint Thomas. He won the Tour de France in 2018. Can anyone name me any of his other teammates that he competed with in 2018? Huh? Luke Rowe. I'll take that. There's another 7. The point is, no one really knows who those lads were, but we all know Geraint Thomas, because Geraint Thomas is the person who ends up on this podium and he takes all the glory. He's just there as a physical representation of his whole team. So lads who were the domestiques, who were absolutely protecting him to preserve his energy so he can wear that yellow jersey, so he can be on the front cover of every paper, on billboards, take all the sponsorships, they're the best teammates you'll ever have. Be a good teammate. Because it's not all about the glory. It's not all about that. It's just doing what you need to do for the team to be high performing. And I absolutely love it. And I think as men, we can be really good leaders. And I think we could be really good domestiques when we talk about the women's game. Because it's not about us being up there and us taking the glory. And when we talk, and I often talk about false prophets and people who all of a sudden want to be fans of female sport because it might put a few extra pounds in their pocket or they might get better engagement on LinkedIn. We need to be the people who are sometimes, on occasion, just travelling into the wind, uphill, protecting our leader because it's the right thing to do and it's for the betterment of that sport, of that team. So I don't love the term male ally, but I totally understand what it means. And I've chatted to loads of different men, and I think there's an absolute misnomer around it. I think we all understand and get the notion of it. But some of them, So I actually really like this video. It's talking about leaders and followers. I don't know, has anyone ever come across this video before? No. Okay, well, it's exceptional. When I talk about leaders and followers, this lad here, he's having a great time. And it's an unconventional representation of what a leader really is. He's just there living his best life. Oh, hang on. And this lad, he's seen the example he's set and he's like, I want to have a good time also. So he goes along and he dances alongside him. So when we talk about leadership, it can be so many different things and it can look in so many different ways. And everyone has their own very unique way of being that leader, inspiring someone else and creating that environment where essentially people can be themselves. I remember age 18, after I did my A-levels and got 3 Cs, which my mum was furious about because she's Nigerian and wanted me to go to university and not play rugby because it's not a thing. I spoke to her about all of this and talking, and it actually really cracks me up just looking at this. So after I did my A-levels and I had my first ever team meeting at Harlequins, our coach said that we want to be a good team and there's no I in team. And I said, but there's 5 I's in individual brilliance. And this individual here, he is the best leader you'll ever see. Through his actions and through him standing out, has inspired everyone else to get involved and be a follower. So when people talk about following and followers being a thing which is just following the crowd and it's brutal and it's subservient, it's fantastic. There's clear delineation between who's the follower and who's the leader right there. I forgot I had that slide and I absolutely love it. So when you talk about male allyship, as I said, at times, I think there is a slight misnomer. And I think this is what some people think, and the message doesn't always land. So, men, I don't think there's a desperation. I don't think it's a desperate plea, like, where are you? Let's be having you. 100%. But I think there's an appreciation for what we can do. But it's not our driving force. I hate to think that someone would ever think that they sent a tweet or sent a post out on LinkedIn, and because that bloke did that, that Wembley filled up for the FA Cup final. I think things happen and there's a positive trend within women's sport because of the people that are out on the pitch, that are out on the track, that are doing their thing as well as the backing that they absolutely have. We can be great domestics, we can be really good cheerleaders, and that's how I see it. I remember Black History Month last year, someone asked me a question. They said, who are your idols? Who are the people you look up to? And I came from an athletic background. I love Michael Johnson, 96 Atlanta Olympics. He completed the 4 and 2 double, broke the world record to both. And I said, I love Ian Wright. I support Arsenal and we're going to win the league on Sunday. I'm not sure why that's funny. Anyhow, no, it's got funnier. And the third person I said was Gareth Southgate. And they were like, huh? I was like, yeah, I'm like fully aware of like his ethnicity, but Gareth Southgate is a man who stood up and stepped up and helped his team represent themselves in the best way possible. I love Gareth Southgate, and I'm not even going to talk about his technical ability as a coach, but we need to be a bit more like Gareth. We need to step up and stand up for things that don't necessarily impact our lives. We truly need to do that. In 2020, during the pandemic, George Floyd, he got murdered, he died. And I remember reflected on that and just thinking to myself, like, this just isn't just a black person's problem. I think this is something that needs to be solved by all of us. And so I reflected even more so, and I was like, but am I doing enough? Am I actually fulfilling the things? Am I actually answering the question that I've set out as a challenge to everyone else? Am I being the very thing? Am I being the ally that I say that people need to be for me? And I don't think I was doing it enough. So for me, it's really important for me to step into a space. I do fundamentally believe that playing rugby for 14 years and doing some cool things actually was all part of a journey to put me in a position to have a platform to actually talk about things that really matter. Like, playing rugby's cool, winning trophies is cool, but that's what I used to do. It's done. The things that I can affect now and try and affect in the future, if that can give me that platform to do it, then I'm truly here for it, 100%. And so it certainly crystallised my need, my importance, and my why as to why I think it's important that we all step up. But with male allies, once again, I think men get it really wrong. It's not a membership. And I've actually listed the various different memberships that you can have as a male ally. So I call this the male ally membership. And at the bronze level, you just say that you like women's sport. we'll just accept just a few social posts, and maybe if you can just attend one women's sports event, but that doesn't include beach volleyball, then you're cool. We'll take you on at that bronze level. The silver membership package, which you have to reapply for every single year, is you say you like women's sports, you have weekly social posts about sport and women's events, including a grid post on International Women's Day. That's a big day, yeah? And then you attend 3 women's sports events, excluding beach volleyball once again. But to be a gold member, you have to say you like women's sport, you regularly post about women's sport, you have 1 grid post on International Women's Day, and then you attend many different women's sports, unpaid. This is where the beach volleyball status is unlocked, so you're allowed to go to that. And you're also happy to discuss broader topics, issues around women in sport. It's just not what it is. It's something that you think and feel. And be authentic. Like, if you like women's sport, talk about it. Like, go and visit it, share it. Like, have a positive impact on it. And depending where you are, and I was speaking to Claire earlier, if you're in a boardroom, have an impact. Have a look around. Like, does that room really reflect the things in the society that we want? That's what Claire said earlier. That's absolutely spot on. It's not about some membership which you renew once every single year and live in this box of bronze, silver and gold. That's just all a nonsense. We create opportunities, and we want to have opportunities that actually go into moments. I end up playing rugby for 14 years, and I'm going to play this right now, and then I'll talk about it in a moment.
They're bearing this line out. Not always to Matfield. Oh, look at Martin Williams. He's just typifying that effort and showing exactly how the Lions launched that back towards the 22 line.
Forward, take a step forward.
Need to try and shut out Brosseau, and they do that. Pienaar.
No leave it five, red captain.
Paul O'Connell is warned. Pienaar again. Staying along the line. Olafia. Here comes Monye. Monye's away. Northway's quick, but I don't think he's that quick. Monye for the post. He's punching the air.
Thank you. That's really kind. That was the greatest moment I ever had in rugby, age 26. So I play for the British and Irish Lions. The British and Irish Lions are a team made up of Britain and Ireland, the best of the best every 4 years. We play the best of the best in the Southern Hemisphere. I got to play for them age 26. In the first test I played for them, it was the greatest day of my life. In the second test I got dropped. Within 80 minutes, the best thing in my life became an absolute nightmare. And then I got reinstated for the third test and I scored an intercept. We ended up winning the game. But to get to that point, age 26, where I've created the best moment of my life, it took me 13 years. I started rugby age 13. I had so many ups and downs. And our lives are just, we're here for moments. No one really appreciates all the different moments that it takes to get to that moment. That try took me 6.5 seconds. It kind of reduces every year. But 13 years for 6.5 seconds, is it worth it? I would do 13 years over and over again for that moment. And at times, sometimes it might feel as if you're working for absolutely nothing. But at some point in your life, you get those 6.5 seconds that will live with you forever. And so if we all collectively buy into what it is and just go through some of that pain and understand what it is that we want to get to, I do firmly believe that we all do end up having those moments. I started the talk by talking about opportunities. And often the greatest opportunities that we have are perceived as the biggest challenges. And if we convert the way in which we actually approach some of those challenges, I think we get the biggest opportunities and the biggest memories and the biggest lifetime opportunities. I certainly know that that's the story that I've had in my life, and it's been inspirational listening to the stories that have been shared already. And I think that's exactly where we are within women's sport, if we're all willing to probably fight a little bit harder, work a little bit closer together, and have that that single shared mindset. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your attention.
goodness. Ugo, that was awesome. But do you always share that clip of you just for like old time's sake? Just makes you feel good?
It's mad because during the pandemic, they replayed loads of old fixtures, and so I was feeling myself a little bit one day, and they had it on telly, and I got my daughter Phoenix. I was like, "Oh, have a look at this. Daddy was really, really good." She's just not bothered,
Puts you right back in your place.
and I love it. I absolutely love it.
We have time for a couple of amazing questions. If anyone has got one and wants to put it to Ugo now. Oh, tension.
No one wants to be first.
I've got one
Oh,
question.
there's one at the back.
There's one over there.
Hi, Hugo. Thanks for that. It's amazing. I think you've inspired a lot of people. Can I just call you out on something? Is that all right? Just ask you a question.
No, yeah, go on. I think you're going to do it anyway.
Last year at a conference, we talked about continuing the conversations outside of the conference. And for me, and I said to you earlier that for me, this sparks a moment in time where we need to continue the conversation. And for me, you're absolutely the right person to kick off our question time. I'd like to propose that we start a question time facilitated by us, and you can launch the inaugural event where we continue these conversations and everyone in the room can join online to keep the momentum going. So I think if we stop the conversation, it's another year, another 6 months. So not put you on the spot on the stage or anything. What'd you say?
Well, okay, one person is in agreement. That's and I'll take
Hugo,
it.
what'd you say?
Do you know what? I love sharing a story. I love sharing my story. I love these conversations. And there's no way that I think that 15 minutes can do anything justice. I'm hoping that there have been conversation starters, a few thought provokers, and if we can continue the conversation online, then I'm absolutely here for it.
Fantastic.
Great.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ugo. Okay, we've got one more question over there. The mic will do a quick run over, and then we'll be breaking.
Mine is not a question, but a request, a plead. Please publish the bronze, the silver, the gold. Please, because that calls out those people that are doing it. The hashtag girl dad. And just because you put that there, that means you're doing something for women's sports. So please, how many people took pictures of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
winds
funny,
me-
but it's real.
It winds me up it winds me up because I know where my heart is,
Yes.
and I know the things that I care
Yes.
for, and that's what allows me to be able to be consistent because I don't think about it. I do it because I like it.
Yes.
It's simple,
Yes.
but I see through so much BS. And I'm just like, why bother?
Yes.
Like you're not here for it because you just think that it's a trend or whatever.
Yes.
Just leave it because I think you undermine the work of so many other brilliant people that want to get into that space. So it does wind me up. And when I was thinking about this, I thought, that's how I'm going to illustrate it because it's not that. This is not Soho House. It's not it's not the Illuminati. It's not some private, holy members club. It's just everyone truly is welcome, apart from Joey Barton, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty simple.
Well, thank you. Yeah, please.
I forgot to mention it there, but one thing that really inspires me and gives me a North Star is just the ability to, and I've really had to think and answer this question, and I'm going to ask the question in a way to finish. Because in order for us to be able to do the things we say, I think this question is quite pertinent. And the question is, and if you do know the answer to it, please just put your hand in the air. But who knows their full potential? If you know your full potential, put your hand up. And there is no right or wrong in this. And I ask the question a lot, and I ask the question a lot of myself, because I think once you understand what your purpose and what your full potential is, then you can start every single day taking incremental steps to get closer to it. I think the minute you're able to answer that question, I honestly feel as if your practice, your work, your relation, whatever it is, becomes a little bit more impactful because you know that this is where I want to get to. And the minute you have that North Star and understand where you want to get to, whether that's an organisation, a sport, an individual, every single step becomes that much more intentional. So whether you're part of a team and lead a team, ask it to your team. And if they don't know the answer, then work with them. If it's a question that you need to invest in, have a greater sense of introspection. but definitely just like linger on it and just try and figure out what that is, to become more intentional, to become more impactful, to have more positive influence in the fields in which you're in.
I think that's a really powerful note to end on. And just one quick thing, Ugo, because you mentioned at the beginning the male allyship, the term. It can be a little trite, can't it? Yeah, exactly, right? What would you, I mean, surely it should, does it even need a name? What can we call you?
Do you know what? And I hate people that whinge that have no solution. I'm like, I don't like the term. What should we call it? I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm just someone that just likes women's sport. I was having a chat earlier with Claire. I was like, if someone said to me last night, "Where did you go for dinner?" I'm like, "Oh, I went to Nando's." What did you have? Oh, I had like double chicken wrap halloumi, medium spice. Did you like it? Yeah. Would you have your friends go? Yeah. It's no different. If you like things, tell people about it, support it, sponsor it, do whatever you can. Just get involved. I don't think it really needs a tag.
I don't think it needs a name. It should just be, shouldn't it?
I know loads of women that come to rugby or come to watch men, and we don't call them girl allies, female allies. No, they're just people that enjoy their sport. I enjoy my sport. It's wicked.
Exactly. And on that note, I would like to end. Let's all just be allies or friends, however you want to call it. But Ugo, thank you so much. We do need more of you in the world. So thank you, Ugo.
Thank you. Thanks so much.